Since first establishing themselves in Winterfell alongside nearby Wintertown, House Stark expanded to control much of the northern territory of Westeros, defeating rival rulers like the Barrow Kings of the Barrowlands in the famed Thousand-Year War that was more likely a series of wars over approximately 200 years. In time, they defeated other northern kings, such as those of House Flint of Breakstone Hill, the Slates of Blackpool, the Umbers of Last Hearth, the Locks of Oldcastle, the Glovers of Deepwood Motte, the Fishers of Stony Shore, and the Riders of the Rills. They also conquered House Greenwood, Towers, Amber, Frost, and may have possibly driven House Blackwood out of the north, as they claim to have once ruled the entirety of the Wolfswood. Legends claim House Stark also fought a war for Sea Dragon Point against the Warg King and his allies, which included Greenseers, Skin Changers, and Children of the Forest. But eventually, the Starks prevailed, killing the Warg King and his sons, while taking his daughters as captives. Under King Jon Stark, they built the Wolf's Den to defend the White Knife River, while his son Rickard Stark defeated the Marsh King and married his daughter to take control of the Neck. Under King Brandon IX, they put down the raiding parties of Skagos in the east, where savage men were said to eat human flesh, and in the west, Rodrik Stark was said to have won Bear Island from the Ironborn in a wrestling match, before giving it to House Mormont. As the Ironborn had a long history of raiding and occupying the western coast, a number of Stark kings, such as Theon the Hungry Wolf, led armies to repel their forces, though these confrontations gradually diminished following the rule of Rodrik Stark. Over thousands of years, many of the houses that once fought against the Starks became loyal vassals. However, others, like the Red Kings of the Dreadfort, were not so willing to bend the knee. Known to be cruel and merciless, the men of House Bolton were said to flay their enemies, claiming to have made cloaks from the skins of captured Starks. Many wars were fought between these competing factions, and while King Royce Bolton II captured and burned Winterfell, as did his descendant King Royce IV, House Stark was ultimately victorious, with the Red King Rogar the Huntsman swearing fealty during the years of the Andal invasion. Nevertheless, House Bolton remained one of Winterfell's less reliable vassals, with a long history of rebellion. Occasionally, the northern realm of House Stark expanded to include the islands of the Three Sisters, who were traditionally an independent power with a unique culture and religion, worshipping the Lord of the Skies and Lady of the Waves. However, they were conquered for a time by King Theon Stark, who also landed an army on the Fingers of the Vale, and eventually these raids led to the rape of the Three Sisters, where stories say the Northmen committed terrible crimes, like killing children and cooking them in pots. Other legends claim the Northmen disemboweled prisoners and executed 3,000 warriors in a day, with some even saying Lord Balthazar Bolton made a pink pavilion from the skins of 100 sistermen. Desperate to remove the Northmen, the people of the Sisters swore fealty to King Mathos Aaron II of the Vale, resulting in the War Across the Waters, or the Worthless War, in which the Wolf's Den was besieged and burned, prompting the King of Winter to authorize an attack on Galltown, burning the enemy fleet. After control of the islands changed hands over a dozen times, the Northmen finally lost interest in the war and allowed the Vale to keep their holdings. Roughly 1,000 years before Aegon's conquest, as House Manderly grew rich from trade along the Mander River in the Reach, King Perceon Gardner III started to see them as rivals to his power, sending them into exile and giving their lands and castles to House Peake. Faced with the possible extinction of their house, the Manderlys found their saviors in the Winter Kings of House Stark, who welcomed them as bannermen in the north, granting them the castle of the Wolf's Den and charging them with the protection of the White Knife. Although the Manderlys came to consider themselves proud northerners, they also held on to their southern heritage, worshipping the new gods of the Faith of the Seven and becoming one of the only northern territories to promote knighthood. Nevertheless, the Manderlys were extremely grateful to the Starks for saving their house and remained staunch loyalists for many years to come. Using the wealth they brought from the Reach, House Manderly built the city of White Harbor, developing a bustling trade economy that would make them the richest house in the north. Just as the western coast was subject to raids from the Ironborn, pirates and slavers from across the Narrow Sea regularly plundered the eastern coast. And so after defeating troublesome sea raiders in one of these attacks, Karlon Stark was rewarded with lands and titles, allowing him to form House Karstark of Karhold. Love audiobooks? Then be sure to check out Audible, where they have the world's largest collection available. Simply sign up through the link in the description box below and get 2 free audiobooks to start out. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Barachado, Ariana, the Lady of the Tower, Red Priest Nemo, the Flame of the Sea, and Killian Shadowcat. If you'd like to help Civilization X, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click on the links to see more.